She asked for nothing more than a simple glass of water. But what she got was a deliberate act of humiliation, delivered by a flight attendant who thought her crown of arrogance made her untouchable. In seconds, an entire cabin gasped as sticky orange juice drenched the lap of a woman who appeared ordinary, yet held the power to bring a multi-million-dollar airline crashing to its knees. What happened next would silence every whisper and leave the guilty trembling. The hum of the aircraft was a quiet promise of departure, but in first class, tension hung heavier than the recycled air. Passengers leaned into plush seats, scrolling through phones, sipping champagne, and expecting seamless luxury. But in seat 3A, a storm was already brewing. A black woman in a tailored charcoal suit sat upright, a binder of aviation documents neatly open before her. Calm, composed, focused. She exuded quiet authority, though no one knew it yet. She asked politely for a glass of water, nothing more. That's when the senior flight attendant appeared. Blonde hair pinned tight, her smile sharp as a blade, she ruled the cabin like a queen surveying her throne. To her, requests were not opportunities for service. They were challenges to her dominance. "You'll get full service after takeoff," she said coldly, pressing a plastic cup of orange juice into her hand. The woman's steady gaze did not waver. "I asked for water." Passengers nearby shifted uncomfortably. The simple request had become a clash of wills. And then, with deliberate precision, the flight attendant tilted her wrist. The juice spilled in a cold, sticky flood, soaking the woman's lap, her papers, and the case beside her seat. Gasps erupted, a few stifled laughs, and then silence. "Oh, so sorry," the attendant said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. She tossed 2 flimsy napkins onto the mess. "Accidents happen. File a complaint when we land." She turned away, smug in her performance. But this wasn't an accident. It was a power play, a public humiliation. The woman in gray dabbed at the stain, but her eyes never left the attendant's back. Her expression was calm, but behind her stillness was steel. She pressed the call button. "I need to speak to your captain," she said firmly when the attendant returned. "You'll file a complaint later," the attendant sneered. "We're about to take off. Don't cause a scene." Her mistake was monumental. The woman reached into her case and withdrew a leather wallet. She flipped it open, revealing an FAA inspector's badge that gleamed under the cabin lights. Gasps rippled again. "My name is Dr. Washington," she said, her voice cutting through the air like a blade. "I am a federal aviation safety inspector. You haven't just spilled juice. You have interfered with my ability to perform my duties and compromised federal property. This is no customer service matter. This is federal." The flight attendant's smirk vanished, her face drained white, as passengers craned their necks, realizing they had witnessed something far larger than a petty dispute. Moments later, the captain appeared. A seasoned man with thousands of hours in the air. He was already weary of being interrupted before takeoff. But one look at the inspector's badge, her soaked clothing, and the silent stares of witnesses told him this was serious. "She's exaggerating," the attendant stammered, trying to twist the narrative. "It was an accident. She's just trying to cause trouble." Dr. Washington's voice remained calm. "Your crew member lied, dismissed me, and then attempted to intimidate her junior colleague into silence. That is not an accident. It is unprofessionalism, and it is dangerous." The captain's eyes flicked to the young attendant standing nearby, pale, trembling. She hesitated before finally whispering the truth. She poured it on purpose. I saw it." The words detonated in the cabin like a bomb. The senior attendant gasped, betrayed. But there was no escaping now. The inspector turned back to the captain. "By the authority vested in me by FAA Order 8900.1, this aircraft is grounded pending inspection." Passengers groaned, frustrated at the delay, but the weight of her words was unmistakable. Grounded. A multi-million-dollar aircraft stopped in its tracks because of arrogance, lies, and one spilled drink. The jet slowly taxied back to the gate. The queen of the cabin now stood pale and frozen, her kingdom collapsing around her. When the door opened, officials were waiting, an FAA supervisor and a panicked airline executive. Within minutes, the inspector was leading a formal inquiry, interviewing crew members one by one. The truth poured out. Years of bullying, intimidation, and protected misconduct hidden behind glowing reviews. The senior attendant was stripped of her badge on the spot, suspended, and publicly escorted off the plane as humiliated passengers watched. But the reckoning didn't stop there. An internal audit exposed systemic corruption. Supervisors who had shielded her were fired. The airline was forced into a sweeping reform, retraining thousands of staff, rewriting policies, and opening anonymous reporting channels. And while one woman's arrogance destroyed her career, another woman's courage elevated hers. The timid junior attendant who told the truth was promoted into leadership, praised for her integrity. She became the very example of what professionalism should look like. As for Dr. Washington, her report didn't just ground a single aircraft, it reshaped an entire airline's culture. Her name became synonymous with accountability, a reminder that arrogance in aviation is more dangerous than turbulence. Months later, she boarded another flight, this time greeted by a smiling crew member who offered water without hesitation. A small gesture, but proof that change had taken root. Meanwhile, the disgraced attendant's fall was brutal. Fired, blacklisted, sued, and stripped of her certification, she lost everything. Her career, her apartment, her circle of influence. She went from ruling cabins at 30,000 feet to serving coffee at an airport kiosk, a ghost of her former self. Watching jets ascend into skies she would never touch again. One act of spite had ruined her life. One act of integrity had saved countless others. And for everyone who witnessed it, the message was unforgettable. Power without respect is nothing. If this story gripped you, don't just scroll away. Take action. Smash that like button. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. And comment where you're watching from and which moment hit hardest. And most importantly, subscribe for more powerful stories.